The most powerful stories aren't always the ones you find in history books. Sometimes they're hidden right in plain sight, in the records of a single life. And today, we're going to do just that. We're going to use genealogical data to piece together the world of one woman, Bama Leah Dry. So what can these old records really tell us about a life? I mean, we've got names, dates, places, all the basic facts. But can a handful of data points actually paint a picture of someone's joys, their struggles, their resilience? Well, let's dive in and find out. Okay, so the name at the heart of our story today is Bama Leah Dry. And wow, did her life span a period of just massive change in American history. She was born back in 1871 and lived all the way until 1935. Now think about that for a second. That means her life is bookended by the end of Reconstruction after the Civil War and the absolute deaths of the Great Depression. What a time to be alive. And this isn't just some random name we picked out of a history book. Bama was actually the great-grandmother of the researcher who put all this information together. So this story, it has a direct, personal connection that reaches all the way to today. All right, so here are the basics, the key facts of Bama's life, straight from the records on FamilySearch. We see she was born on November 1st, 1871, in Mobile, Alabama. Her parents were Archibald and Martha. She married twice, first to John Abner Morris and then to George Franklin Palmer. And she passed away on April 16th, 1935, in Clarendon, Texas. Okay, so these are kind of the anchors of her story. Now, let's start filling in the gaps. Bama's story isn't one that stays put. It's a story of movement, a journey west that would pretty much define her entire childhood. This timeline really shows us a pivotal chapter. So, in 1871, Bama is born in Alabama. Her brother Charles is born there too in 74, but look at this. By 1878, her sister Lois is born in Bosque, Texas. So sometime between the ages of 3 and 7, her family packed up and moved from Alabama all the way to the Texas frontier. I mean, can you imagine? That's a huge, life-altering journey. And then, tragically, just a couple of years after they get there, her mother, Martha, dies. Bama was only 8 years old. Losing her mom so young, that really set the stage for what would be a very tumultuous youth. We're talking about incredible highs and just devastating lows, all happening in a shockingly short amount of time. Get this. At just 16 years old, Bama experienced two of life's absolute biggest events. She became a mother and a widow. The timing here is just staggering. I mean, look at these dates. On December 11th, 1887, she gives birth to her first child, a son named James. And just 9 days later, 9 days, her husband, John, dies. Can you even wrap your head around that? The absolute joy of becoming a mother and the crushing grief of becoming a widow, all in a little over a week? As a teenager, it's just, wow. But Bama's story is absolutely one of resilience. Because just 2 years after that tragedy, at only 17, she remarried a man named George Franklin Palmer. And with him, she started a whole new chapter and began to build a new, large family. So all in all, Bama gave birth to 10 children. But this chart really shows the harsh reality of the time. Out of those 10 children, 4 of them died in childhood. Now, we know that was sadly common for families back then, but you have to remember, for Bama, this wasn't a statistic. This was a deeply personal, repeated loss. Okay, so these records, they give us the what of Bama's life, right? The facts. But to really understand the why and the how, we kind of need to zoom out and look at the world she was living in. And it's really important for me to say here that the following context is based on general information about what life was like in Texas during this specific era. Think about the world Bama lived in. It was a time of just massive transformation. The economy was changing, shifting from farms to factories. You had the women's rights and suffrage movements gaining real steam. We've already seen how rudimentary healthcare was. Families just faced incredibly high mortality rates. And large families like hers were common, with women really being the center of the household. But at the same time, you've got these incredible new things popping up, like the cinema and the radio, completely changing daily life. So after piecing all of this together from just raw data, what is her lasting legacy? I mean, how does her story really connect to us, right here, right now? Well, the answer is in the family she built. This chart lays it out perfectly. You can see the direct line of descent from Bama, our great-grandmother here, to her daughter Leah, the grandmother, and then down through the generations, right to the researcher who pulled all this together. It's just this incredible unbroken line connecting today all the way back to that young woman on the Texas frontier. Bama's journey came to an end in 1935 when she was 63 years old. Her life took her all the way from Alabama to the plains of Texas, and through just profound loss and truly remarkable endurance. She was laid to rest in Citizens Cemetery in Clarendon, Texas. You know, Bama's life, when you think about it, pieced together from just a handful of records, is such a powerful story of resilience. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What incredible stories of strength and survival are just waiting to be discovered in your own family's past?
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at a really foundational figure in your family history, Bama Leah Dry, born way back in 1871 in Mobile, Alabama. But she spent most of her life really shaping a family out on the Texas frontier, lived until 1935.
And it's just fascinating, the time frame. She lived right through that huge transformation in America, post-Reconstruction, the big push west.
Industrialization starting up.
Exactly, all of it. And crucially for you, the listener, Bama Leah is your great-grandmother. The connection comes through her daughter, Leah Palmer.
Okay, so let's dive into her life. It seems like she faced challenges right from the start. Born to Archibald Monroe Dry and Martha Bacon Purdue. But the family moved to Texas, and then records show her mother Martha died in 1880 in Denton, Texas.
Right, and Bama Leah was only 8 years old then, just 8.
That's incredibly young to lose your mother, especially back then.
Absolutely. And things didn't really get easier as she got older. Look at her late teens. So much happened so fast.
Her first marriage.
Yes, at just 15 years old. She married John Abner Morris in December 1886. That was in Erath, Texas.
15. And then she had their child, James Archibald Morris, about a year later, December 1887.
That's right. But here's the really startling part. The records show her husband, John Abner Morris, died just 10 days after James was born.
10 days. Wow. So she's barely 16, a new mother, and suddenly a widow on the Texas frontier.
It must have been, well, incredibly difficult. Survival would have been the immediate concern.
Which probably explains the quick remarriage less than, 14 months later?
It seems likely. She married George Franklin Palmer in January 1889. She was still only 17.
17. And with George, she had a large family, didn't she?
A very large family. The records list at least 8 sons and 1 daughter. So a household full of children.
Well, looking at the timeline, there's also a lot of heartbreak there, too.
Yes, that's something we see often in records from this period. They lost several children very young.
Walter L. Palmer, Lily Palmer, an unnamed infant son, and William S. Palmer. All passed away between roughly 1898 and 1912.
It's a stark reminder of, the state of healthcare, especially in more rural areas. High infant and child mortality was just a tragic reality.
And the losses continued into her adulthood.
Her father, Archibald, died in 1900, and then her second husband, George Franklin Palmer, passed away in 1924.
So she outlived both husbands, her parents, and several of her children.
She did. Bama Leah herself died in 1935 in Clarendon, Texas. It's just a lifetime marked by profound loss, really.
When you think about the broader picture, what was happening historically during her life, it's quite a contrast.
How so?
Well, you had the women's suffrage movement gaining steam nationally, big changes in industry, even new things like cinema and radio starting to pop up in the early 20th century.
Right, but for someone like Bama Leah living in rural Texas, managing this large, fragile household, her daily reality was likely quite different.
More focused on immediate survival, maybe. The land, the family.
Very likely. Her personal timeline really highlights the harshness of frontier life, the constant cycle of birth, labor, and loss, even as the wider world was starting to change. Managing a large household, dealing with economic hardship, that was the core experience for many women like her.
Her journey, from Alabama across Texas, really shows that spirit of adaptation. Families just constantly moving, adjusting.
It really does. And connecting it back directly to you, Bama Leah Dry, is your great-grandmother through her daughter, Leah Palmer. This isn't just a distant historical figure.
No, it's direct lineage. And what really stands out is her sheer perseverance, wouldn't you say, enduring all that loss.
Absolutely. The death of her mother, her first husband, moments after childbirth, losing children, losing her second husband. It's a powerful story.
Her life timeline isn't just dates on a page. It feels like a testament to resilience.
That resilience is what built the foundation for the next generations, including yours.
So the final thought maybe is, what does that endurance mean? What kind of strength, what kind of wisdom, even if unspoken, gets passed down through a life like that?
Something deep in the family story. Definitely something to reflect on.